Welcome to Breakthrough. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to click the subscribe button followed by the bell icon so you don't miss any future videos.
When I say for our God, I put a question there because often when I say even the word God, or when you and I begin to talk about God, often my perception or my revelation of who God is, as opposed to your perception or your revelation of who God is, would be two different things. And so we would be talking about God, and the meaning of God for you and for me is two different things. And so I want to really just talk about that just for a second, okay? And if we were together, I would say to you, repeat after me. Your perception, point your finger at me too, your perception of who God is not right, okay? Because it's not. It really isn't. I think even the most learned person on planet Earth, okay, would have only a limited grasp on who God actually is. And because really, if you really think about God, you have to consider all of the things in nature, like a dandelion, for instance. A dandelion grows, everybody tries to kill it all the time, but it always seems to come back next year, and it always grows, and it becomes this beautiful yellow flower, and then pretty soon it forms a seeding, all these seeds, and pretty soon it blows out, and they replenish themselves, but they keep coming back, and it's like, why? And I've asked myself this question, because I have a lawn, and I ask myself the question, why would there be a dandelion? I mean, they're annoying, but yet God created that dandelion. So for some reason, He thought about a dandelion when He created green grass, and knew that we would have lawns, and maybe He just did it so that we would know that there's a God, or that even if I try to control them, they're still uncontrollable. Or you can think about the moon, or the planets, or the stars, or anything that we can observe in our eyes, but yet the God that I serve this evening, the God that I'm talking to you about, is the God that breathes, right? He breathes out and planets form. He thought about gravity. He thought about the atom and the DNA inside of us, and personalities, and people, and generations of people, and characteristics in people. He even put inside of each of us a thing called a conscience, a thing that often we the little voice that says, I shouldn't do that. God put that in you when you were born. You were born with it, and each of us have it. We want to deny it sometimes. We want to say, well, it's okay if I'm this way, or if it's okay if I'm that way. But somewhere inside, there's this voice that speaks to us, and it's evidence that there is a God. Most of the time, our perception of who God is comes from my experience with Him, right? And my experience might be a lot different than your experience. Your experience might be a lot different than somebody else's experience. And so then we have this rub, or this difference of opinion that happens. And I like this verse in Jude chapter 1, verse 21. It says, "Keep yourselves in the love of God." And I'm gonna there's a comma there to pause, and that's exactly all the verse that I'm going to read, because we could talk about a lot of other things in that verse, but just that phrase, "keep yourself in the love of God," brings up more questions for me, and maybe for you too, because how can I keep myself in the love of God if I don't even know who He is? You see, and so that's the good question for our God. For our God is how do I keep myself in His love if I don't know who He is? And so let's talk about that for just a second. I mean, if we really think about it, often most of us have been in a relationship, and it might be with your mom, you might be with your dad, or with some significant other, and we would utter the words, "I love you," and it's always great to hear the word "I love you." But what does it mean? Because if we really want to get honest about it, right? When I say I love you, am I saying I love you because I want something from you? Or am I saying I love you because that's my nature, is to be loving? And am I loving you to make you better? Or am I loving you to make me better? See, there's a perception thing, okay? An experience thing. And so we know this characteristic of God, and I'll just say it. God is love, right? God is love. And so when God says he loves you, I think it has a different meaning than me saying to God, I love you, God. See, and I want to really get to the point tonight in just our few moments together where we can level that playing field just a little bit, okay? And so if you go with me just a little further, when I got saved, when you got saved, when anybody gets saved, we experience part of the love of God. I think it's that initial experience, though, that is so powerful, because that initial experience with God is what lays really the foundation of all of the rest of my relationship. Because it seems that after I get saved, that I begin to pick up habits, or we might call it Christianese, or I'm blessed, or I'm joyful, or whatever those words might be, and we begin to walk out a version of what that actual first experience was. I've talked to a lot of people, and that first experience is very powerful because they remember it. They remember every detail. I remember when I first got saved. I remember I was around 11 years old. I got on my knees and I experienced the love of God. It's funny when you think about an 11-year-old person, myself, saying that I was a sinner and I needed a Savior, when the reality of it is, whether you're 11 or 28 or 84, we all are born into sin. We don't have to do anything to be a sinner, and we all are in great need of a Savior. We need a Savior. And so then we think about the love of God, because that's what we experience when we get saved. We say, Jesus, come into my heart, come and be Lord of my life, and He does. I give you my life. And then we experience the love of God for the very first time. And I want to ask you a question, if I could just meddle with you a little bit, all right? Is anything in your life new, okay? Is anything in your life new, or is everything the way it always has been? Or have you found yourself in a same situation for a long period of time? Has anything new happened because of that situation? Are you changing? Okay, and let me just leave that thought there for a minute. All right. See, because if nothing is changing, that's a key to your perception of your relationship with God. Okay, because if something is new, or if something is growing in your life, something new will happen. Right, like the dandelion. It starts out like a green thing, becomes yellow, becomes a white puffy thing, and seeds go everywhere else, and it reproduces. You see what happened there? And so if we really want to grow, if you want to grow as a person, it's going to take you becoming uncomfortable a little bit. See, if I never leave the house, I will never meet anybody new, and I'll always have to talk to myself. Okay, but if I would get out of the house, and I'm specifically saying go to church, we would meet other people, and iron would sharpen iron, and we would begin to converse with each other, and then what happens in me and what happens in them would begin to happen in somebody else. See, we would begin to reproduce. It's kind of funny. I drive by the gym every day on the way home from work. I drive by it, and I don't go in it. I just drive right by it. But if something's ever going to literally change in my workout routine, which just is a drive by right now, right? I'll never grow. Okay, I'll never get stronger than what I am right now if I don't actually stop. get out of the car, go in the gym, and do a set of reps, okay? And so I really got to take steps, right, outside of the car into the gym and begin to work out for something new to happen, okay?